page and document design. Now we are moving into the exciting part of conveying a solution into more of a design perspective. So if you are a person who enjoy designing, you will thoroughly enjoy this chapter. So what are the key considerations in designing a document design and also the pages that underpin? Number one, don't try to create your own things. Follow the guidelines given by the customer. If they have given you, it's going to be Arial 10 as a font, and you should have to give this particular paragraph sizing, and you need to have this particular appendix. This is how you layout, etc. Please do follow those guidelines. Number two, ensure your design is aesthetically appealing. So different dimensions, different way of doing things, but ensure whatever the angle, whatever the way that you are designing a document is aesthetically appealing. Also, if you are going to use different types of tools, like all these Adobe interesting design stuff called raw bits and pieces, use different tools, use different design techniques and come out with something glossy. Most importantly, how can you produce this document efficiently? The more formats that you use, more design templates that you use, how can you bring it all together? Considerations are key. Follow the guidelines. If you're using different types of tools, good. Design it brilliantly. Ensure it all comes together in one format. So let's move into some of the best practice. Number one, do you have a role in your company as document publishing person, or what we call a desktop publishing role? Recently, the trend is most of these roles have been outsourced to desktop publishers, but in your company, do you have it? Do you print it yourself? If it's just an online document that you're submitting, or do you go elsewhere? How do you approach it? If you do have a desktop publishing role, clearly understand how this role going to work. Number one, who's going to design the template? If you are designing the template, ensure that's being shared very early on with the team. The last thing you want to do is everybody does different formats, and you as a person needs to pull everything together. It's a nightmare, especially last few days before the deadline. Create the template, share it early with the team. Make it consistent style. If you are using graphics, if you're using a different types of branding for your company, ensure those branding stays both for the customer's perspective, that compliant principles, what they're asking you to deliver, your branding, make it consistent. Think about physically how you are going to produce this document. Are you going to go for binders, some creative way of doing, some videos, CDs, sticks, different cool way of producing? If you are going for something, plan for your production. Clearly identify the role. If you don't have a role, then somebody in your team needs to have this dedicated person who in your team is going to own the template, share the production methodology, and to liaise with external publishers if we have one. If you are not the one, who is the person who's just going to take it further? Number two, schedule it effectively. Schedule it effectively. These days, it's everything is sometimes I do notice your Word templates are becoming more and more redundant, where the responses are coming out in spreadsheet format. But if you do have bits that requires you to come out on Word templates and stuff, plan your productivity. How many templates can the designers create, the graphics professional can create? How many documents or a kind of responses your team can create? Do you have a metric that you follow? If so, schedule it. Look at your proposal plan. Understand the number of questions, from where the content is going to come from, how the graphics is going to play, how the overall writing is going to work. Bring it all together, right? Schedule effectively. Number three, prepare for production. Most production people have a lead time. So if you are deciding to print and publish it and then post it to your client, allocate time carefully. Print ready. If you're looking for a physical production, you need to plan carefully around it, right? Most of the submissions of Friday, ensure you have at least 3-4 days before it hits it, or at least you have a flexible publisher who's going to turn it around in the shortest possible time for you, right? If it's electronic, still multiple graphics. If you're looking at a PDF format, PDF comes with its own positive encrypting technology, clear interface, but it also comes with its own drawbacks that if you do attach embed documents, those documents won't be able to be visible. So prepare for production carefully. Number 4, graphics. Obviously, this is what's going to differentiate the messaging of your elements. How can you use graphics properly? And if you do have graphics, it's been tested and found that if you do use graphics, use it at the top left column. If you do have it at the top left column, supposedly your attention goes pretty quickly. People scan left to right and they get the message pretty quickly. So graphic elements, most important. Ensure the key messages that you want to convey in the graphics are not getting lost. Okay, graphics can sometimes be very glossy, but when you look deeper into it, it doesn't mean anything. So if you do go for glossy graphics, ensure that the message stays clear, right? Then you have your design strategies. How are you going to follow the design strategies? How are you going to contrast your submission? You align the balance, the consistency, proximity, some principles that you're going to follow in designing your strategies. I am not a designer, but if you are, these 6 principles might be very, very interesting to you. So these are the key best practices. Understand the desktop publisher role, schedule effectively, prepare for the production on time, manage for your lead times. If you are going for graphic elements, ensure it gives a clear message. Number 5, also plan your design strategies. What are the pitfalls? Pre-assumptions. Pre-assumptions are always tricky on this. You might think, okay, this is the amount of effort I might need, I'm fine with it. Remember, everybody is different, and if you are approaching it differently, you might need to plan it carefully. Then inconsistencies, whatever you submitted previously might not be relevant for this particular tender, so please plan it carefully. So what are the summary? How can you give you a summary? Number 1, if you are going for a page alignment, if you are designing a document, your core purpose is to improve the readability of your solution. People read it and understand in the shortest possible time. Schedule it in advance. Let everybody know this is the template they need to follow. This is when they need to send it back. This is where graphics ads are planned for the production, right? Most importantly, train your team. If you as a person are going to use multiple softwares to bring it all together, just let the team know that this is how you're approaching. If they do need to do it themselves, tweak it. Please don't assume that they can get on with it. Align, give them the training. Don't forget your corporate branding. Your PR team might come and say, hey, you know what, we are not going to approve this. Doesn't follow any brand guidelines. If you do have corporate branding guidelines, please follow this. So that's in a nutshell about page and document design.